You may already know Roger Claar, who is the mayor for the village of Bolingbrook for the past 26 years. What you may not know is that he was a trustee before being mayor and employee for the school district prior to that. If you want to learn more information on his background, I encourage you to visit the Village of Bolingbrook's website at www.bolingbrook.com and read the mayor's biography. Thank you for your time. And we're going to ask you a couple impersonal questions before delving deeper into the political aspects of your persona. So we're going to go back to ask you, where did you grow up?
A town of about 7,000 people, 200 miles south of here, called Effingham.
Okay.
Heart of Central Illinois.
What were you like as a kid, and what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I didn't have a lot of direction. Didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Wasn't a big fan of school. Liked to play a lot. Got in the usual kid trouble. Parents thought I should go to the military after I graduated. They thought that would straighten me out.
Did you?
No, I went to school.
Okay.
Where I could play some more.
So what made you move here initially?
Well, I finished my PhD at Kansas State and had 2 job offers, one in Northern Illinois and one in Kentucky. I took the one in Northern Illinois, which took me to Zion, and from Zion I came to the Valley View School District. And I liked where I was. I bought a house here and been here since.
So what do you love most about Bolingbrook?
I just like the atmosphere, the feeling in Bolingbrook. It's just everybody here is trying to do something better for their family than perhaps what they had when they were growing up.
Right.
Everybody here, there were a lot of first-time home buyers. They moved here, got out of school, they could afford a house here. And many of them wanted to stay here, but we didn't have the housing, so they moved on. That's one of the reasons I tried to get a more diverse set of housing to accommodate those people who want to move up. But I like the synergy of Bolingbrook. I like the fact that it's extremely diverse. I think it's one of the best communities I've ever been in. And I haven't been around as much as some, but I've been around more than most. And I just saw a lot of opportunity here for people and a place to stay.
Right. So who would you pick as your role model or your hero?
Well, I'll go with the usual Lincoln. I thought Lincoln was a tremendous president, made some tough decisions. I watched the movie like a lot of people have, and I certainly could not relate to the decisions he made, but I know there's a lot of times when you're by yourself and you got to come up with a decision because you've listened to all the inputs, you've had all the ideas thrown at you, but you ultimately have to make the decision. I thought Reagan was a good president leading this country, and leadership is what being president's about. And like Bill Clinton for a lot of the ideas that he came up with and the way he had a leadership style, it was very unusual, but it certainly worked.
Right. So would one of those people be the same person that you would meet if they were dead or alive?
Well, I met Reagan. I did not meet Clinton, and I certainly won't meet Lincoln. But yeah, I'd take like meeting one of those people. There's a lot of leaders, I'd like to meet. Churchill. I mean, there's the list of people I'd like to talk to all the way back to George Washington. Right. The people that wrote the Constitution. I mean, to write a document that sustained 200 years with minimal revision is remarkable, and it seems to still be the guiding light for this country.
And it is. What type of music do you listen to?
Oh, I'm all over the place. I've got Sirius radio, but I listen to talk radio. I listen to the 50s, 60s. Sirius radio, you can listen to the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and I skip back and forth, and I'm amazed sometimes there are songs in the 90s I liked. And of course, I like some of the elevator music. So, and occasionally I listen to country.
So no commercials in Sirius?
Well, the commercials get a little annoying, but it's just, I like variety. It depends on the mood I'm in.
Okay. So what are things you do to relax or recharge, like different hobbies that you have, besides listening to music?
Actually, I like to watch some mindless TV show.
Mindless TV shows?
Pawn Stars, CSI shows. You get lost in the TV show. You get into it, and it's like your mind's clear to some of the things you're thinking about or trying to decide to do the next day.
So different criminal movies, sort of like Law and Order as well?
Law and Order, Good Wife, all those kinds of shows.
Okay. What about your favorite sports team?
Well, it's not a team, it's individual. Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods.
I could watch that man play golf every day. He's an amazing athlete. I think he's probably one of the greatest athletes in this century.
Oh, okay. If you could be any superhero for a day, who would it be?
Oh, Superman. Well, Superman. Of course, I could still fit into well, you probably don't even know what a a phone booth is, but I can still fit in one. Might have trouble changing clothes in it. But
Okay.
that's for Superman fans. So if you didn't watch Superman, you know what that meant.
I actually know what a phone booth is. We still have one, I believe, down in Carbondale. So.
Well, I bet there's one in Carbondale. There's probably a lot of them in Carbondale. It's coming to some in Effingham, too.
Sure.
The further north you get, the fewer there are.
True. If you could start a new career today, what would it be?
Oh, there's no question. I would become an attorney and go into business.
Okay.
I've watched a lot of people in business, some who I thought were very capable, some who weren't so capable, but they all made a whole lot of money. I love public service. I spent my entire life in public service. I don't regret that. But in my next life, I'd go in and make some serious money because I think I have the ability to make some money, and I think I could do that.
Would that change through your college and through your degrees as well?
Well, I don't know. I talk to people all the time. They don't know what they're going to major in. I tell them take their time because the job that you'll end up having in 20 years probably doesn't even exist now anyway. So you get a good rounded education. You can go a lot of directions with it. Public service in terms of government or politics wasn't part of my degree. I didn't get political science or anything like that. I just liked the challenge of getting people to coalesce in one direction and moving in that direction and getting things done that will make the place a better place to be. Okay. And that's the challenge I like. In business, you would do that. In government, you occasionally get a pat on the back, and of course, you get a lot of pats in the butt.
So if you can change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Well, I thought about that. I'd like to tone it down a bit. I can be a little, not abrasive. I do my homework.
Okay.
And a professor in college told me once, if you don't want to know my opinion to your question, then don't ask it. And what that simply says, if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you my opinion. I know what you want me to say sometimes. I know what you'd like for me to say, but I'm going to say what I believe. And that's real easy because the basic premise is the next day I don't have to remember what I told you.
Right. I
told you exactly what I think. And some people, and it's like Jack Nicholson said in the movie once, you can't handle the truth. And some people don't really, or can't handle the truth.
So you don't provide any puffery or any?
No, I've always had the opportunity to work with great people, and I've always been fortunate a person around me who can go to somebody and grab their hand and say, you know, we really can't do this anymore.
Right.
I have trouble doing that.
Okay.
It will not happen again would be more of my response.
Okay. So tell us about your history of involvement in Bolingbrook.
Well, I came here as a school administrator, moving to town because I believe you should live where you work. I've always felt that way. And I moved into town. I noticed there was a vacancy on the village board. The trustee moved to California. There was a split on the board. They couldn't make a decision. It was 3-3 vote. I knew people on both sides of the aisle, so to speak, because I'd been involved in Rotary and some other community activities. I approached them and said that, you know, if you can't find somebody, I'd be interested because my grandfather was mayor of Effingham where I grew up.
Okay.
That didn't make me want to aspire to be mayor. It's just I found it interesting. And to be on the city council, I'd like to try that. Okay. So I got the appointment, was on there, ran for mayor in '85, lost in a 3-way race. I was then put on the police and fire board for a year and a half, and the mayor left office, and I was then appointed to be mayor. So I was appointed to be trustee, got reelected, then ran for mayor, didn't make it, and got appointed to be mayor subsequent. And that was in November of '86. I've been mayor since. I got a long list of things I wanted to do. A good number of them are done. We got the promenade, the hospital, beautiful public services.
All successful too.
Great staff, and of course the Park District's award-winning. All those things have been the efforts of a lot of people, not just Park District people, not just village people. It's the efforts of all those people together.
Okay. So what core values have shaped the way that you lead now?
Honesty. Be brutally honest. When you're honest, again, you don't have to think about what you said the day before because you know what you said the day before, and you know that's the opinion you have. I do my homework, and I tell people, I've done my homework. If you're just giving me an opinion based on rumor, then don't waste my time. You do your homework, I'll debate you on any topic. And you might change my mind. Mm-hmm. And my mind does get changed. But I don't like to deal with people who haven't done their homework. Why don't you like that? Well, I just don't like it. That's not good enough.
Right.
You know, there's going to be reasons why you don't like things. And, you know, like I said, I think that honesty is what kept me going. People say, you know, I don't necessarily like the guy, meaning me, but as long as he does the job, I'll support him. And that's all I ask people for. Don't make this an unpopular opinion. Don't make this the way I comb my hair or part my hair or what I wear or what I do. Look at the job. If I'm doing the job, then support me.
So the difference between personal and business?
I don't understand that.
In a way that if someone's opinion is toward you rather than toward business,
True.
toward what
yeah.
you do.
I don't like you because of the car you drive or the way you dress, and I've heard those things.
Right.
You know.
But delving deeper into what the core values that shape you, what do you feel is the definition of leadership?
Well, it's really simple. It's somebody that can get people in a group together and make a decision to go forward in a particular direction and lead them in that direction. There's been many times over the years I've been leading, and I look behind me, and there's the people that I thought were behind me aren't, and that means there's probably something wrong with the direction you're going. But I work with people like very well. I call up all the parties involved. I get their opinions, and I try and shape a consensus decision that will get us in that direction. You know, you can't compromise principles, but you can compromise sometimes how you get from point A to point B. And if it means we have to build this before we can build that, then if that's doable, let's do that, as long as everybody gets to the end goal at the same time.
So if there's not what were the keys to translating your vision for the future into action?
Well, the hard work. One of the things I insist upon people around me that in elective office, and I've told people I will not support somebody for public office. I won't put their phone number in the book. I mean, if you don't want to be accessible, then how can you help me as a resident? So I want people to be accessible and visible. And if you talk to anybody that's around me, be it village trustees or even other candidates I support, I am just death on that. I mean, if there's a function in town, I want to see you there. Because most people are intimidated to come to a boardroom like this and ask a question to me on television. They're not comfortable doing that. But if they see me on the street, they see me in the mall, they see me at some community event, they're very comfortable coming back and asking me, and then they can tell me what they think we're not doing right or what we're doing right, maybe how we can make it better. And you get all that information, input from those people in the street. You're not going to get it sitting here.
Right. Young people are becoming engaged in the political process in greater numbers than ever before. One of our village's strengths is that the large amount of youth. How do you suggest we get involved at an early age and keep them engaged?
Well, I probably would not agree with you on the fact that young people are getting involved more. In fact, I could almost make the case it seems like they're less involved. You ask the average young person, and to some extent adults today too, you talk about some world event, like something that's going on in North Korea or someplace around the world, and they don't know what you're talking about. And that's because the only news they get is what they see on their smartphone. And nothing wrong with smartphone news, but it's not all-inclusive, and there's things that happen in this world that affect our day-to-day lives. I mean, the voter turnout in this last congressional race and the second congressional race just 2 weeks ago down in South Chicago, 3% of the people voted. 3% in the entire congressional district. 500,000 people, 3%. That's embarrassing to me as a citizen. People died for that right to vote. And, you know, you see people tied up in their smartphones, and you see the blog pages, which I think really are cruel sometimes on things they say. And, of course, the whole thing about the Internet is we forget there's probably 20 to 30% of the people who don't have access to computers, smartphones, and the Internet. So how can we say that the opinion of people polling on the Internet is reflective of the country or the town or the neighborhood when you know full well in certain parts of this country, probably more like 40%, don't have the resources to go online or vote in a computer poll. So I think we assume sometimes because there are people on it that all people are, and they're not. But the young people and getting involved is critical. I wish more people would step up. You could be on a commission or board at 18 years old. I don't think more than once or twice in 26 years I've had somebody less than 25 ask about being on a board or commission. So more involvement is what we'd like, and well, how do they know? Well, they know the same way anybody else knows. I mean, am I supposed to go to high school and go to classroom soliciting people to be involved? Perhaps, but I don't have time to do that.
Right. What are the most important qualities and or skills you look for in senior level village employees?
Well, probably first and foremost is I remind them who they work for. It's not me. It's not the village attorney. It's not the trustees. They work for the people on the street. And I tell them continually, if a resident goes to the trouble to look up the number for Village Hall, dial that number and ask for the mayor or the director of public works or the police chief or what have you, that means that question is extremely important to them, and don't treated as if it's a frivolous, or perhaps that's a typical question we get during snowfall, whatever. That takes initiative to do that and treat it accordingly. The people in this town are first and foremost, and when I want people around me at this board as well as in the department level, or people respond to the people. If I call you up as a police chief and I say, Chief, where can I get some help for my daughter who's got a drug problem? I don't want him to say, well, you can call Will County, you can call DuPage County. I want them to call for them and get the number and the staff member and call them back and say, I just talked to Dr. Smith or Mrs. Smith, and here's the number. You have your daughter call there, or you call them, and they're waiting for your call. That's the kind of service I like to see among our senior members, senior leadership.
Okay. How do you inspire employees to provide the highest level of service to residents?
Well, it's probably not a very popular method, but I'm short and sweet and to the point on what I think needs to be changed. As I said earlier, I don't have time to spend 20 minutes counseling somebody on how they should do things. I just tell them this is the way we're going to do it.
Right.
I mean, most of the stuff that goes on in this building is a reflection on me. Do I take that personally? Yes. And is that inappropriate that I take it that way? Not necessarily. People expect the mayor and other people in leadership to make this town work well. And when it doesn't work well because somebody down the organization isn't doing their job, then I'm going to get that fixed as soon as possible.
This is a tough economy. In what ways have you helped residents realize the changes Bolingbrook faces, and what actions have you directed to overcome potential issues?
Well, there's certain things we can't control in municipal government. In fact, there's a lot of things we can't. I mean, it's kind of a joke, but one of the things we say is we're better off when the Congress of the United States and the Illinois General Assembly aren't in session, because they're down there trying to fix things that they set up our business. I mean, I had a conversation today with a citizen who's concerned about his home value declining, and home values have declined across this United States during this last economic downturn the last 3 to 5 years. And I said, well, you selling your house? No. Then don't worry about it, because they are starting to come back up again. Home values and property values went to a point that was almost ridiculously expensive. And at some point, something had to break, and it did break. But home values did drop. Now they're coming back. Just stick with us. We'll come back. It didn't happen here. It happened in Palm Springs. It happened in Naples. It happened in Miami. Home values went down everywhere. So you just explain to people what's happening as you see it, what we're doing as a city to help it. For example, vacant houses, we're working with people to get those houses reoccupied and back on the tax rolls in the event they're taken off. And well, again, if you've done your homework and you know what's going on, you can make residents feel more comfortable, and that's what we try to do.
Okay. What experience have you had that helped you understand the mindset and values of another culture?
Well, actually, I didn't do it till late in life, but I'd already worked with different groups. I think the trip we took to China gave me a whole new perspective on China as a country, because it is extremely large. Trip to India, trip to the Philippines, those are all, at one time, were considered almost third world countries, but now they're economic engines in their own right. Certainly I learned a lot about working with various Asian groups. We worked with, here in Bolingbrook, with virtually any group that has an interest in sitting down together. Probably we're a little short, and with the Hispanic culture that's growing rapidly throughout the United States, as it has here in Bolingbrook. We're having trouble identifying Hispanic leaders, because we'd like to get to know more people in the community who'd like to step forward. We have a young lady, I think she's young, Maria Zarate, running for village trustee. She'll be a big help to our board in terms of giving us guidance and direction with that growing population here in Bolingbrook. But it's working with people. It started when I was in college. I mean, I did work with a lot of diverse people when I was at Eastern University in Charleston. It basically was probably 98% Caucasian university. But I worked with people, learned how to work with people in different demographics, different economic backgrounds, and that translated into working with lots of people. I worked at Decatur and taught school for a couple of years. That gave me any experience with different people. So it's moving around, and I've always had no problem meeting with people and working with groups.
Wonderful. What are the first 3 things any mayor should do to raise communities' confidence in the elected officials that are in office?
Well, be visible, be accessible, and when you are, be honest. Okay. If you follow that motto, you're gonna do well because people say, yeah, you see them around a lot. People like that. They like honesty, even sometimes if it's brutally honest. But those are the things that people like in elected officials, and the people that aren't accessible, visible, and honest don't last long.
Right.
Well, at least they don't last long around here.
So what's your vision for Bolingbrook in the next 20 years?
Well, we're approaching build out. There's not a lot of acreage left for residential and or business development. We certainly need to work, as other communities across the country do, in order to fill up some of these vacant retail spaces. It's been a huge change in the retail market. Online purchasing has certainly impacted that. Competition has certainly impacted that. The big boxes are going away. You're not going to see the massive retail buildings built, I don't think, in the future. We have several of those, so getting them filled and keeping them filled is going to be the challenge. But we have all the great access points. We have all the fire stations built. All of our roads are built. We have the hospital, the promenade, the library, the parks, the golf course. We have everything. Mm-hmm. Now it's a matter of maintaining it and keeping it as sharp and as beautiful as we can.
Okay. And to conclude, how would you like to be remembered?
Well, did people think I cared?
Okay.
I do. Some people think I'm a little, again, outspoken and arrogant. I don't think it's arrogance at all. It's confidence because I do my homework. Right. And but I do care. I care about everybody. I tell people I don't care if this development's in your neighborhood or on the other side of town. I treat every development, residential or otherwise, if it's in my backyard. And if you don't like it, and well, we all feel the same way about that. If I don't want it in my backyard, I certainly not going to support putting it in your backyard.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for coming to this.
Well, thank you. Good luck. Appreciate you doing this, and we probably need to update this periodically.
We should.
Okay.